This is Sybert signing into Tiberian Dawn Remastered. Look at all that wonderful old school Tiberium in the top left-hand corner. Playing the Nod, this is Jamie. And in the south, playing the blue, this is a player whose name I cannot pronounce. The Blue Nod versus Jamie. And it is a Nod mirror, but this is going to be a multi-game video, and I have deliberately chosen not Nod mirrors because, much to how I remember the last time seeing some games from Tib Dawn, it's a lot of Nod mirrors on the ladder. A lot of Nod mirrors on the ladder. And so I wanted to check out some games that were not Nod mirrors to see what we get and to see, how it plays out, what people choose to do. But this one is a Nod mirror. So that's what I'm promising you, is that even though this game is a Nod mirror, most of them will not be. Not super familiar with this map. All of these maps in Red Alert Remastered and Tib Dawn Remastered I am not very familiar with. But they all look kind of funky. They all have a sort of asymmetry to them. And in this case, a Nod mirror, the map, kind of doesn't matter. Maybe the players do have some preferences on whether they spawn in the north or the south. But other than that, it should be pretty equal, all things considered. Airstrip coming up for both players. It's going to be into buggies, just buggies for now for Jamie. And wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of bikes mixed in there as well. But it was, I believe, a triple refinery opener for both players. Got the Hand of Nod in there, a little bit of a base crawl down to a fourth refinery for Jamie. And the exact same thing coming out from our blue Nod player. So extremely similar build orders from both players. And blue, going pretty deep into enemy territory, is going to be able to get a pretty decent scout on almost the whole base of Jamie. So Jamie is going to have to deal with that. By the way, Jamie, a top ladder player. Other player, I'm not so sure about. But this player has a couple of games against Jamie, and they had a couple of different factions. So I wanted to check them out so that we could get a little bit better context, get to see a couple of players in sequence against each other. Jamie up to 5 Tib refineries. And it looks like the exact same thing for our blue Nod player, 5 Tib refineries as well. And it's all buggies, no bikes mixed in here, nothing like that, just pure buggies for now from both players. No mix-in of those bikes, no, I guess we might see some flame tanks a little bit later on, but no flame tanks just yet. We have seen those a decent amount in games that I cast, over a year ago. I didn't realize it's been that long since I checked out the remaster, but it has been quite a while, so I do remember lots of buggies, some bikes as well, and I do remember flame tanks being mixed in on occasion. But another refinery online here for Jamie, and I think the base crawl has slowed down a little bit, but it's going to be a double airfield, actually, for our blue Nod player, and it doesn't seem like Jamie has gone for that double airfield. It's a single airfield from Jamie, but a bigger focus on economy. So blue Nod is running out of cash, and Jamie has nearly $2 grand in the bank. Buggies are going to try and run past the defense. There's going to be the second airfield added on just a little bit later than our blue Nod. And this is a lot of buggies who have managed to get through enemy lines. They're going to be able to target down one of these refineries. Maybe it will fall, but the reinforcements coming in hot and fresh from Jamie. Gun turret as well going to be added into the mix. So Jamie holds the line, does not lose a refinery, but blue has kept the fight on the Jamie side of the map. There we got a couple of bikes finally mixed in to the fight, but a turret here as well to help even the odds. Jamie has good numbers, but those bikes from blue, it looks like they're not going to be enough to turn the tide. That one turret doing a lot of heavy lifting for Jamie. Meanwhile, Blue Nod has expanded across the river, a fresh refinery there as well. Jamie starting to actually put on some pressure, some counter-aggression finally coming out, and a fresh Hand of Nod, though, from our blue Nod player. Yeah, Rifleman, maybe you need a little bit more than that to stop a couple of buggies, but it's going to be an attack on two fronts. Reinforcements coming into the right side for Jamie. Buggies swirling in and looking for that angle. The refinery is kept safe for now, so Blue Knot has stopped the bleeding at the refinery. That critical infrastructure on the fresh Tiberium field will not be shut down at this point, and it gives more time for reinforcements to show up. Jamie at a bit of a standstill on the other front, but this is quite a base crawl. Soon it will be base defenses attacking the opponent. Blue will have to deal with base defenses from Jamie, putting on the pressure as well as these buggies. First Harvester does go down there. I think that was the first Harvester kill of the game. And Jamie keeping up the pressure, and I'm gonna guess Jamie gets the win there. But I thought we would have seen a little bit more of a resolution to this game before it ended. But I guess that's that. I mean, it seems like Jamie was in the lead, but, you know, maybe there's the hope of the counterattack swinging up to the north, and I guess that'll do it for game number 1. Not quite how I expected that one to go. And game 2 is once again on Tournament Middle Camp, and as you can see, Jamie is now in the bottom left-hand corner playing that yellow, and playing the GDI, playing the blue. It is no longer a mirror matchup. So we have an MCV reposition down to the south a little bit, kind of in a prime position to work off of these two fields at once. And these games were played close to each other. I'm not actually sure which one was played first. I think the one we just watched, our game number 1, was also the first game that these, of these two, the earlier of these two. But again, I didn't want to cast a bunch of nod mirrors, so we are going to be jumping into some other things. Jamie, very good with the base crawl, it seems. Good at keeping control of the game through expansion and through, not aggression, but it almost feels like aggressive expansion, getting in really close to your opponent, making sure that you have those points where you can drop down defenses, where you can keep your opponent from going too deep on your territory. But really solid macro from Jamie, really solid economy play as well, and we're hoping to see something a little bit better now that Blue has switched to GDI. Maybe those advanced guard towers will be coming into play. But, you know, maybe there's a reason why not a lot of people play GDI on the ladder. So, you know, we are hoping for the blue player for a good performance. Jamie, currently floating 4K. Airfield now gets added on. A little bit late on the airfield, and it seems like Jamie is one of those nod players who is not an airfield first, or I guess a helipad first kind of player. Some nod players do like that helipad first, and play a little bit off of that, use it for aggression, maybe you pepper some power plants or that sort of thing, but you also just can use it for scouting and clearing up all of the early game infantry, because people pretty much build grenadiers, flamers, and riflemen in the early part of the game, and not much more than that. So your aircraft are usually pretty safe in the early stages of a Tib Dawn match. A couple of riflemen going to be making their way through that field. Pretty decent scouting from both players. I think Jamie has the better scouting overall, more vision, more map presence and awareness. And actually, no, there we go. Helipad does come in, so it's not going to be before the airstrip, but it will be pretty soon thereafter. And getting a couple of helicopters can be a good way to cut down on those units. And of course, when you kill off those grenadiers, sometimes your opponent has left them in a place where they will splash damage each other. And in this case, Jamie is just going to be able to pick off a couple of grenadiers. Nice chipping away at the opponent's forces, and it's going to be a decent number of buggies. Grenadiers are going to be pushing in medium tank here as well, and it is going to be buggies versus infantry. The buggies are going to win that one pretty easily. These flamers are grouped together, so if they go down, they are all going down together. And, yep, quickly makes short work of those flamers, but the grenadiers similarly are not exactly in a great position. Attack helicopter comes in, double war factory now out on the field for our blue GDI player. So these tanks are going to be coming out faster and faster as long as they don't get overwhelmed by the bikes and the buggies. Helicopter here as well, no real answer from the GDI player, and that's an MCV cell from the GDI. So he is going to be happy working off of these 4 refineries with the help of the double war factory. And Jamie, on the other hand, going to be expanding out further, going across the river, more bikes, more buggies out onto the field, and GDI has somewhat turned this attack, pushed it back into the middle of the map, and that's where GDI is hoping to keep this one at bay. Riflemen and Grenadiers going to be stepping forward. As long as they can close the distance on the infantry, or on those buggies, they will clean them up very quickly. Bikes coming in, they're going to have to dodge out. A lot of those bikes are low on health, which means they are very susceptible to a couple of grenades or a couple of shots from those tanks. And, well, in this case, it's going to be a couple of grenades going to be trading out against those bikes for that power plant. GDI pushing into the other side of the map. Bike's going to be cleaning up a good number of those grenadiers, but there's still more reinforcements coming in the middle of the map. Jamie trying to stop the reinforcement parade push across the map. Ahead of Nod gets deployed. The refinery does go down. That's one refinery down, but Jamie's economy has been pretty solid with the expansion going out to the east side of the map. Tanks are now going to be getting peppered by the attack helicopter. A couple of more bikes coming in here. They should be able to focus down at least one more of these tanks, and reinforcements coming in from Jamie. These bikes almost being toppled. Jamie's tanks not quite in high enough numbers, or maybe it was the infantry that Blue GDI really needed more of. Attack helicopter comes back in. Cutting down those infantry numbers allows the bike buggy to trade a lot more efficiently against those tanks. Bike's going to try and cut past the tanks, go for some of the reinforcements, jump on those tanks. I mean, as you can see, the 4 bikes versus the 1 medium tank, it's almost silly how little damage the tanks do versus those bikes. Flamers move forward. They get cleaned up. No flame units for you. Jamie still keeping the focus in the middle of the map. With this expansion on the right side, it's very possible a flank could open up. GDI recommits into the attack. Grenadiers brought to the front line, splits up the Grenadiers to attack a couple of different units at once, which is always a good choice, but that attack helicopter has not been dealt with and has been doing massive damage for Jamie. Jamie has gotten so much value from this attack helicopter. Finally, that group of bikes has been dealt with, and now the medium tanks are in a position where they can actually group up on some of these attack bikes, and they might be able to even shut down this barracks and maybe even get some more damage onto this Nod base. GDI will drawing on the last dregs of this attack, hoping to do some critical damage now that almost everything back home is so slow to produce with how far away all of the Tiberium is. And I think that's an MCV cell from Jamie, so what you see is what you get, but what Jamie has got is a lot more than what GDI has got. And maybe if there would have been a second refinery kill earlier on, GDI would have had a better shot at taking this game. It was a valiant effort for sure. Jamie maybe is just a little bit too powerful with that Nod faction choice against this blue GDI player. Man, constantly drawing a 0 on that bank account, but the tanks keep coming out. GDI desperately clinging on to hope, wanting this attack to keep going, despite the fact that Jamie's attack bikes keep finding kill after kill after kill. And there's still like 6 more attack bikes over here that are not even engaging in this fight. There are so many attack bikes that could be brought into this fight that are just hanging out behind the scenes. And they could even, yeah, just turn into a counterattack, turn into a flank as the bikes head up the east side of the map. And that's going to be the GG. Jamie's bikes breach the enemy base, and I think GDI just taps out there. So 2 good attempts from our blue player, who I don't know what their name is, but ultimately it looks like Jamie gets the win in both games. The map for Game 3 is Green Acres, and as I promised, we are going to be resisting the urge to go into just Nod mirrors. So in the north, representing Nod, this is Jamie, and in the south, representing GDI, this is Dire Stripes. We're hoping that we can see some more GDI victories. I mean, technically we've seen them in the past, but, you know, there's a reason why Nod is so prevalent on the ladder. And this map is very close quarters. You did see both players moving their MCVs down the ramp just a little bit. Gets you better access to the middle of the map. You've got these green Tiberium fields on each side. You do start with kind of a pocket base. It's a little bit awkward on the Jamie side of the map, and I think it's a little bit more accessible on the Dire Stripes side of the map. But then it is a very short couple of refineries. You know, I guess it's 2 refinery base crawl from just about both sides to get to the middle of the map and to be in a very contested position where you could, you know, deploy to barracks kind of on the front line here and pretty easy access to just shelling your opponent's base. A couple of Grenadiers getting eaten up by the flamethrowers there. Jamie pulling the defense together with the use of those flamethrowers, keeping them spread out well enough that if the Grenadiers take them down, they don't all splash damage each other to death. That is one of those great mistakes that players will make. Their Grenadiers or their flamethrowers will be grouped up too much, and it'll be a problem. Tib Silo coming out. We've got a pocket refinery there for Jamie. So it is a 4 refinery economy for Jamie versus right now a 4 refinery economy from Dire Stripes. And actually, no, make that a 3 refinery as Dire Stripes actually gets the kill. I was not expecting Dire Stripes to be able to get a kill on a refinery on the front line like that. That does make this a little bit more awkward, but 3 refineries, 4 harvesters is still manageable for Jamie because of how long it takes harvesters to unload Tiberium. It is better, well, most of the time, to have 1 refinery per harvester. And that is not what you want, is too many harvesters just lining up at the refinery and waiting. Jamie, on the other hand, deals with the Grenadiers, doesn't take too much more damage, and starts a base crawl as the airstrip, finishes up. And it looks like still no war factory from our GDI player. Throw flamethrowers onto the front line. Grenadier does go down, and it's going to be Jamie potentially deploying turrets on the front line as well. We've seen many times in Red Alert Remastered and in Tib Dawn Remastered this base crawl to your opponent, and then you deploy base defenses right in your opponent's base, but it's going to be that refinery getting targeted down. It will be sold off. Dire Stripes will get a little bit of cash back there, but it's going to be triple barracks on the front line for Dire Stripes. And there is actually a war factory here now. Medium tanks starting to be produced by Dire Stripes, and hopefully he'll have enough medium tanks to contest with this bike buggy, because buggies can be dealt with by the medium tanks. Once you swarm in the turrets and the bikes, it can be very difficult for the GDI player to deal with, but maybe Dire Stripes has some tricks up his sleeve. We shall see. Harvester's now going to be needing more refineries to go to, and this is now like 4 refineries, or 4 harvesters, 2 refineries. Guard tower gets deployed to try and hold off this infantry swarm and the tunnel and the turrets as well, but it's just not going to be enough. The guard tower does go down, and this refinery will be sold off. And now Dire Stripes has 1 refinery in the back of his base, and all of his harvesters have to go there to refine. This is an extremely dire situation for his economy, and something that he's going to be struggling to ever get out from under. 4 turrets here on the front line from Jamie. That's actually kind of ridiculous. How many turrets are there? They could start targeting down that power plant if they so choose. And that's going to be buggies on the left side. A couple of medium tanks are here. Does he really only? No, he does have a 3rd medium tank, a 4th medium tank even. They're just not being brought to the forefront. They are not being brought into attack. More and more power plants going down. Dire Stripes has a lot to deal with as Jamie is now assaulting the MCV. That turret is barely in range of killing off that MCV, and with the sell-off of the turrets, good number of minigunners are going to be brought to the forefront. Sells off the MCV, so Dire Stripes is pretty much all in from this point forward. He was already broken in the economy sector, and now he has to try and fight these reinforcements, which aren't even making their way to the front line, but he has to fight this bike buggy with his medium tanks, with no MCV, with 1 refinery, and with 4 harvesters, which, as you can see, he's got a decent number of harvesters, but when you've got only 1 refinery, that is just not efficient harvesting. This 1 harvester has been waiting his turn to unload that Tiberium for so long, and Jamie is looking good and ready to close this game out. take this to the final step. As is Dire Stripes going to try an all-in attack with everything? It looks like he is. He has 2 tanks back at home defending. This is a lot of infantry moving forward. An engineer gets gunned down immediately, and the grenadiers and the riflemen are going to be getting taken down one by one. This is double turret on the front line. You need a lot of tanks to be able to bust open this Nod base. And even if Jamie lost this front line of defense, Jamie still has a potential back door to kind of fall back on. But a barracks is getting targeted down. 3 medium tanks on the front line. If this was just buggies and Jamie was out of cash, then maybe this could work out with 3 medium tanks chipping away at these buggies. But the buggies are just going to try and ignore the medium tanks and push forward. 4th medium tank comes on out. Buggies getting chipped away at. They have been brought low. One by one, the buggies are being eliminated. And a 5th medium tank steps out onto the field. This is actually a decent number of medium tanks now out on the field. If the War Factory was saved... Oh, but it wasn't, and now there's no production for Dire Stripes, so he's got 1,500 in the bank, and he's about to lose even his barracks. No more vehicle production against a Nod player who can build essentially an infinite number of buggies. Dire Stripes has one last chance to rally everything that he's got and cross the map, but I don't think he can really fight the army. I think he's going to have to just run past the army and try and kill the entire base, but even that is going to be a long shot regardless. Maybe you bring the harvesters as well, so hopefully they absorb a couple of shots, but no, that will be the end of the game. Dire Stripes, I'm going to guess, is the one tapping out there since he had quite literally nothing left to fall back on. And Jamie gets 3 wins in a row. This is turning into the Jamie win hour, but hopefully game number 4 tells a different story. And game number 4 will take us to Quarry, a map that, to my memory, can be a little bit awkward with building and with navigation of units. All of these paths and choke points can turn a little bit difficult in the middle part of the game. Playing the Nod in the top left-hand corner, playing the yellow. This is Inca, not Jamie. And I said there wouldn't be Nod mirrors, so here we have playing GDI. This is Jamie, playing that blue auto match, yellow versus blue colors always represented here. And Jamie representing GDI this time. So I don't know if this is a map-specific choice, but I imagine it was just a choice to play GDI on this day, and Quarry happened to be the map. Quarry, you've got a decent Tib field in the back of your base. We can see both players base crawling a little bit to get to that. And then you've got this field here. But once you get past that, it can be a little bit awkward to take some of these other expansions. As you see, you get out towards the edges of the map, and it's just not quite as easy to control those expansions. And I mean, in your base, this Tib field dries up, this Tib field dries up, and then you've got a lot of building room there, but you don't have easy access to Tiberium after that. So we'll see how these players play this one out, and it's going to be Tib silos for the base crawl from Jamie. Let's take a look at the vision. Okay scouting there from Jamie, and sort of equally okay from Inca. Pretty even in that regard. 3 refineries so far from Inca, and 3 refineries so far from Jamie, although certainly a 4th refinery could be coming up very soon, and there it is. Harvester going to start working on that additional field in the south. Airstrip comes up for Inca, so the beginning of the Nod buggy or Nod bike buggy has begun. And it is going to be at least 1 bike right at the beginning, and then buggy after that, and quite possibly buggy, buggy, buggy forever and ever after that. Tib silos to get to your expansion, and maybe this is the pocket 3-base setup, and then after this, it gets a little bit more awkward. You are quite spread out with this, but because of the natural chokes on this map, there aren't necessarily a lot of wide open spots to shove units in. I guess this one is pretty open with the way that's worked out, but with this barracks blocking off this one entrance, it does make it a little bit awkward to get units in there. And nobody builds artillery, so you can't necessarily shell stuff from afar. You're just going to use those bikes and buggies to make that happen. Infantry going to be pushing in. Inca going to be taking a little bit of damage on the refinery in the north, and it's going to be buggies swarming in the south. south for Inca, looking to put some pressure on Jamie down there. Jamie might actually just get this refinery, even with a couple of flamers coming out. It's too much damage coming out. Too many grenadiers were there from Jamie, and Jamie will lose all of those infantry, and this is a lot of grenadiers very bunched up from Jamie in the north, but it almost doesn't even matter if they lose a couple, as long as you don't lose them all. Flamethrower is going to be stepping forward, happy to go a little bit of a suicidal mission here to trade flamethrowers for grenadiers and stop a big burst of damage from coming down on that expansion. It's gonna actually, we're gonna see a Humvee out onto the map, as well as Jamie goes for that GDI Humvee. Not something you see very often, at least not to my recollection. And it's going to be buggies coming in from Inca onto the right side of the map. Jamie, with a couple of medium tanks here, is going to be chasing down a bike that managed to sneak past the defense. Jamie versus Inca, and for the first time today, Jamie is the one with the tanks coming out from GDI, having to chase around these very fast Nod units, as opposed to the previous games where we saw Inca have the fast units and running away from those slower GDI units. And this is just camping out on this barracks, denying that grenadier production. Meanwhile, Jamie is going to hope to get out from under this Nod boot heel, because more buggies are coming in. Attacks are happening on two fronts, as Jamie is going to be able to push away the buggies on the right side with those tanks. This is a lot of buggies, and the tanks can do a decent job trading against the buggies. But the real concern is if the buggies just kind of ignore the tanks and run past them to deal with the infrastructure. Buggies getting blocked away a little bit here. A couple of them will be able to make it into that base, but as you can tell, the pathing is definitely awkward to get buggies up that ramp, especially when the more buildings that you have blocking it. And the buggies are just going to commit deep into enemy territory, possibly just trying to open up some space here. They're not even going for any targets. They might just want to cause a little bit of chaos and open up an opportunity for these attack bikes to swing in here. Guard tower is here. Will be getting targeted down by those bikes, but you got the grenadiers to worry about as well. And since the buggies are all on the south side, Inca has this two-pronged attack, and neither side is doing a very much damage. There's a couple of buggies here. They're going to be able to deal with these grenadiers, and the grenadiers will trade out against the buggies. A couple of these buggies are very low on health, so they only take a couple of grenades to be knocked down, and that will be the end of those buggies in the south. But Inca has a backup plan, and it is bikes coming in to swarm deep into enemy territory, going for that war factory. I think they're going to be able to get it. Second war factory gets deployed, and yeah, Jamie is forced to sell off that war factory, and it's going to be the bikes going for the kill on those harvesters. Looking for harvesters is not something we see very often, but in this case it will happen as those attack bikes look for an additional target. I guess technically they are recon bikes. This isn't Tib Wars, but you know, attack bikes, recon bikes, they're basically the same thing. Jamie's actually found a bit of a purchase here, found a bit of a weakness in the armor of the Nod player, and is going to be able to put a bit of pressure on Jamie with a big GDI push coming out, defeating that attack, and now with a mass amount of infantry is going to be able to push into the middle of the map and even into the northern expansion of the Nod player. This second airstrip is under threat. It's not taking damage just yet, but these reinforcements are not getting much done on the front line to push away these tanks, and Jamie, with two armies working not quite in concert, but one of them locking down the left side of the map, the other one pressuring on the right side of the map. That flamethrower got massive damage on those grenadiers. The splash killed off 5 grenadiers at least, and even more grenadiers are going to be going down. Harvesters may be going to be used for the crush here, and infantry being absolutely slaughtered. Jamie not getting a lot of value for those infantry, but it's the double-pronged attack. It's the kill of both airfields potentially coming in here for our GDI player. And no, Jamie won't get the airfield on the right side, but that does cut down the Nod production, and these tanks still haven't been dealt with. So Inca is going to go the chaotic route, it seems, potentially go for a base trade there, and the buggies will deal with the tanks perhaps eventually because of reinforcements, but of course the tanks will chip away at those buggy numbers. Tanks do just fine against the buggies in the 1v1. As long as there's no bikes in that mix, the tanks will do just fine. And Inca has had an expansion problem most of this game. Ever since the pressure came on, Inca has not necessarily re-expanded as much as they would like, and we'll see if they're able to keep off the pressure, because this set of refineries goes down and this set is going to be next. As long as these tanks survive, another power plant is going to be going down. Jamie, with so much of the map under their control, is going to be bringing pressure from just about every direction, and a mass number of grenadiers. A couple of flamethrowers. No, it's actually going to be minigunners. And there's the flamethrowers coming out onto the front line. MCV will be sold off, so that's going to be the end of the build queue for Inca 3000. And these flamers are going to try and stop this tank, but as it turns out, it's not tough for a tank to crush a couple of infantry units. And on the right side of the map, it's going to be Jamie still trying to keep up the pressure. And this airstrip survives, but these grenadiers just need to turn their guns, well, their grenades, to that airstrip, and it will just about all be over. Jamie brings the pain. Jamie brings the GDI army everywhere on the map. Inca is going to try perhaps one last-ditch effort, heading out with a big group of infantry through the middle of the map, but I just don't think it will matter, and that is going to be that. Jamie switches to GDI and gets a win regardless. So we'll see if Jamie, I actually don't know if we have any more Jamie GDI games, but GDI got a win. It was just in the hands of Jamie. And our last game of the day takes us to Tournament Desert, and I have a sneaking feeling it will be a GDI victory, because in the north, playing the yellow, this is Babax. And in the south, playing the GDI, playing the blue, this is Jamie. But that means it's a GDI mirror. For the first time in this video, we have ourselves a GDI mirror matchup. We started with a NOD mirror matchup, and we're going to be ending with a GDI mirror matchup. So we at least get to see a decent amount of GDI today, even though that's not necessarily representative of the latter. The latter seems to be more NOD than GDI, but today we're giving pretty equal treatment to NOD and GDI. We're getting to see a decent amount of both. Tournament Desert, one of those maps that we have seen so many times on this channel, mostly in Gen 0 hour, but, you know, some other places as well. I think someone did a variant of this map for Tib Wars. I don't remember if it was like an official map that was a like pre-order bonus, or if it was a community-made version. And then there's also a Red Alert 2 version of this map as well, but I've only seen that one like once or twice. So we've seen it a couple of times here in Tib Dawn, but of course, yeah, most of the time that we see this map, it is in Gen Evo. That's most of where I get to see this map, although, you know, not as much in recent times, which I'm always happy about, because in Gen 0 hour, it is not a particularly good map. Is Jamie just gonna get a massive amount of damage on this MCV with one Grenadier that snuck through the enemy defense? Are you kidding? Babax, you got something to deal with here. Okay, there's the repair tool. It comes up there, but Babax is out of cash. Wow! That got way closer than it ever should have. Babax is going for that that right side expansion as well, but I think at the current moment, Jamie has 4 refineries and a war factory. Meanwhile, Babax 2 refineries, and they're kind of split. Instead of focusing all of the refineries on this northwestern field, Babax has gone for the base crawl and nearly lost his MCV as well. I mean, that's going to take a decent amount of cash to repair, and I don't think we're going to be getting to the stage of the game where we have people building more MCVs. That's not very common in Tib Dawn, but this is a lot of Grenadiers, and now Jamie is going to be paying the price. Babax has so many Grenadiers that he's actually able to just burst down these buildings in 1, maybe 2 volleys, and the Humvee is no match either. Jamie is going to get almost dumpstered here by these Grenadiers on the other side of the map. It looks like the Orcas did go for the kill there, and now finally the Grenadiers have met their match. Other Grenadiers. Power plant does go down. War Factory gets sold off, and it's just about a reset there from Jamie. But Babax loses the MCV. The triple Orca Strike coming through clutch for Jamie. Sells off 2 of the helipads to get some cash back in the bank, and Jamie may not actually have enough cash to get another refinery. Okay, there we go. The refinery is back online. Whew. Jamie has 1 refinery, Babax has 2 refineries, and this is not how I expected to see a game on Tournament Desert starting out. Babax with no MCV, and I think only a barracks has just 1 place to spend his money. He knows exactly what he needs to be spending his money on, and it's 3 barracks worth of grenadiers. So that is what he is going to be going with. Maybe he will get some rocket troopers as well. I'm not sure, but the Orca is going to be coming back in, going to be able to target down this power plant, and the power plant might go down. No, barely. The power plant does survive. Babax out of cash, and that power plant actually manages to stay alive. And that is going to be also the sell-off of the Orca helipads. So that's it for the Orcas. They're just going to hang out there for a minute. No War Factory, just a couple of barracks from Jamie. Perhaps the toughest game we have seen yet. And it starts out as a seemingly normal-looking Tournament Desert 1v1, and then it turns into this almost infantry-only kind of game, and it's going to be an advanced guard tower that gets brought onto the front line. So that's what the comm center was built for by Jamie, for the advanced guard tower. And it's not that that is unbeatable by infantry, but man, is that going to be tough for Babax to crack. That advanced guard tower is extremely powerful for the GDI. 1 refinery, 3 harvesters at least for Jamie here. More harvesters than refineries is such a problem in Tib Dawn. And, well, 2nd advanced guard tower knocks down all of those grenadiers, and that is just not what you want to see when you can only build grenadiers. 2 advanced guard towers, going to be pretty difficult to break. Could go for the power plants, and it looks like that is what Babax is doing. Grenadiers moving into position. Orcas are going to be repositioning themselves, looking for that perfect angle. And the Orcas land. The Grenadiers get a couple of shots there. They might be able to knock down these 3rd advanced guard tower, and just the massacre of Grenadiers. There's no hope there for those Grenadiers. Babax is going to need a better plan, a different plan at least. And there may have been an opportunity to come in here from the left side and go for the power plants. I feel like that window is closing rapidly. Jamie has pretty decent vision, but there is definitely a bit of a blank spot there on the right side. Meanwhile, Babax sees basically everything on the map. And hey, the helipad is back as well. So Jamie, with the economy, as it turns out, can do a lot more than Babax with no MCV. Grenadiers are going to go for that Tib Harvester. Not very often that you see Grenadiers kill a Tib Harvester, but it does happen at least sometimes, and we're going to see it happen here right now. Again, not something you see very often, but it's going to work here. Grenadiers might be able to get the jump on these riflemen. Yeah, they get all of the riflemen in one burst, basically, and now they might be able to jump in and kill off a power plant. Maybe they can sacrifice themselves to go for that barracks. Yeesh. That is rough. 1 Grenadier survives. That's the magic spot where the advanced guard tower can't actually reach those Grenadiers, and they will just slowly be peppering away at that power plant. Grenadier comes out from Jamie, and that defense will be enough. Orcas back online? Nope. They're going to head off to the other side of the map and go for refinery. And they actually have all refueled. I wasn't actually sure if they had all refueled or not. But once again, Babax finds the perfect angle there where 1 Grenadier is safe. Orcas refueling and rearming as Babax has very few options left, but is still fighting it out to the bitter end. And these advanced guard towers make Jamie almost unbeatable. But at the same time, Jamie has so few units. Everything is being spent on rebuilding infrastructure and trying to get out more guard towers to survive. These Grenadiers would have found an angle to win the game if it wasn't for the advanced guard towers. Grenadier going to try and find the perfect angle. Orcas, they do spot that engineer. They will be able to knock that engineer down, but that is a lot of rockets just sort of wasted on trying to kill off one engineer. And the barracks will go down. Yeah. And the wider you spread your base, the less that your base is actually covered by those advanced guard towers. Decent number of rocket troopers coming out here from Babax. Decent number of rocket troopers still around the base. A couple of riflemen as well, or rather those minigunners from Babax. Grenadiers, rockets making their way down south. Second barracks gets added on for Jamie. And second barracks might just get knocked down for Jamie. Jamie, who doesn't have a lot of cash. It's expensive to rebuild all of this infrastructure. But another advanced guard tower will keep this area of the base safe for now. Missiles will almost win. But man, those advanced guard towers are good versus infantry. Barely not enough rockets to break that advanced guard tower. I'm not sure what the magic number of rockets versus an advanced guard tower is. If you do manage to get the perfect spread of rockets, then maybe they would have a better chance of knocking down that advanced guard tower. But as you can see, they just cut down those rocket numbers so incredibly quickly. And from this point forward, Babax is, you know, he was already in a bad spot. And it's just not getting better when you've got 6 advanced guard towers to deal with. Grenadiers are going to try and find a sneaky angle, but the advanced guard tower has so much range that it is difficult to stop the Grenadiers. Power plant goes down. Not enough. Not enough. I guess you need to knock down 2 of those power plants to actually send Jamie into low power mode. And we actually can't see how much power Jamie or Babax have, so that part is a mystery, how far away they are from low power mode. And, well, this one refinery is under threat. Again, finding the perfect angle, the one spot that the advanced guard towers have not been able to cover. It does remind me of cryo rushing in Red Alert 3 against Empire, where you're looking for that perfect angle to get the cryocopter where the Defender VX Core can't cover everything. And once you find that angle, sometimes the game is just over from there. But in this case, the game is definitely not over. Oh, it's going to be a suicidal run. Babax. So close to actually being able to make this work. And then every time it's just not going to happen. And Jamie is pretty secure. Jamie in this one, the slow build, the choice to go for those advanced guard towers was critical. That was a huge decision. Also, running infantry through the Tib field, you know, that's not the thing that is losing Babax the game, but that certainly doesn't help. Running those infantry through the field. Grenadier's going to get a couple of free shots onto these Orcas, and, well, one Orca down. Second Orca goes down, and suddenly these Orcas don't have nearly as much firepower when it's just the 2 of them. They can't really kill any building when it's just the 2 of them. Maybe they could kill a barracks. But other than that, everything that Babax has is safe for now. And yeah, if Babax could have managed to knock down a couple of these power plants earlier, maybe that would have been enough to send Jamie into low power mode. And, well, I don't know, maybe with that War Factory, 1 power plant would be enough. But also, Jamie has now rebuilt so much, and Jamie has 2.5k in the bank. Well, there we go. Fresh power plant gets added on. Babax trying desperately to find the perfect angle to attack this base. Everything getting spread out to find exactly what is vulnerable. The answer is very little. 1 Grenadier traded for 1 Grenadier, and yep, that infantry army is not long for this world. That's a lot of advanced guard towers, but What can you do to break it? I think the answer is basically nothing when you've got only infantry. So we applaud Babax for the attempt. I love that Babax did fight this one out, and Jamie is pretty much out of cash. So now we're at kind of a weird stalemate where if Jamie moves out, I don't know if 3 medium tanks would survive versus Grenadiers in defensive positions. If they meet in the open field of battle and the medium tanks are able to get the crush, then it's no problem. Okay, well, we'll see how this fight goes. 3 medium tanks. If the Grenadiers close the distance and land the shots, then the tanks go bye-bye. But if the tanks get the crush, then it is going to be a lot of dead Grenadiers, and that is feeding Grenadiers into those tanks, and the Grenadiers are going to have to give chase, which is, yeah, if the tanks hold still and they're shooting a building, then you can kill the tanks with the Grenadiers, but if the tanks aren't holding still, the Grenadiers have a very difficult time dealing with those tanks. Orca is going to be coming in as well, making this defense that much harder, and certainly this one refinery will fall. Grenadier is going to be going for the kills on those tanks, and, well, Jamie is going to be hoping to end the game right here, right now. 3 medium tanks hunting for that second refinery, and once the refineries are gone, then the economy is truly shot. But as you can see, even when the tanks move, if they move slowly, the Grenadiers can still land those shots, and 2 tanks hoping desperately against hope to kill off this refinery. Meanwhile, the Grenadiers closing the distance and getting their health bars down. So little health left, the Orcas could finish it off, but the tank gets the kill. 3 barracks, 2 power plants, all that remains for Jamie. For Babax, excuse me, and Jamie has not sold off basically anything, so now this is really unbreakable for Babax, and I'm not actually sure what the rest of this game time is even going to be. Grenadiers, no! No, running through that Tiberium and just taking that damage for essentially no reason. Babax out of cash, I guess sell off everything but 1 barracks, and then use the cash to build whatever you have, and plus the reinforcements of selling off those buildings. Yeah, if Babax could have broken the power plants of Jamie, then there would be a chance for the fight here. But since Babax was never able to break the power plants of Jamie, there isn't much of a chance for this game. Is he gonna lead with a harvester to draw the fire of those advanced guard towers? These Orcas are just going to cross the map, and maybe there's an angle here where the harvester draws the fire. No! Grenadiers, no! Oh, Jamie's defense is just too good. Orcas are refueling. Comm center is back up. And, well, the advanced guard tower will be taking a little bit of damage here. There's 3 of them here, and, okay, now this harvester is sort of doing nothing. It's absorbing damage, but there's nothing dealing damage behind all of this. I think Jamie accidentally splashed their own power plant there. And, yep, the harvester goes down. Okay, so that was not the plan that I was hoping for, but that is the plan that we got. And we'll just kind of skip ahead here. I'm not sure what the hope is for the last stage of this game. And, oh, well, if it wasn't bad enough, Commando comes out and gonna slowly make his way up to the north side of the base. And no, it's gonna be the sell-off, fire sale, potentially here. I guess keep 1 power plant around and then sell it off now. And yep, bye-bye to everything. I don't think we've ever seen a Commando before, so not something you see very often, but here we go. Out on the field. No C4 planted for you. And Babax, it's been fun. It's going to be a GDI victory for Jamie once again. And that will do it for this game, for this video. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the wacky and goofy Tib Dawn action. And this is Sybert, signing out.